is very up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, good. We're all showing up promptly at 4. So I did not hear from anybody that they were not able to come today. And so that being said, I think we should give everybody a few minutes here. I know that with it being, I don't know, just for some reason, October seems to be a really busy time of year. It's not just police and fire that are busy with disaster preparedness month and fire prevention month, but seems like everybody in life is just busy.
So there's just 3 of us here, Lori, in addition to you?
There's 4, yes, there's 4 of us total.
You're here twice, Lori.
Jamie, good.
And so just to let everybody know, we have started the recording. I am doing this from home because I had a doctor's appointment today for my cat. And so I am at home currently. Angie has my computer on at the office. So the badge is actually my desk and it is on so that it can do the recording. Dr. Cromwell, just to let you know, I've kind of decided, as long as nobody objects, I've been doing meeting minutes, but also recording the meetings. And I'm starting to feel like it's duplicating efforts. And the recordings of the meetings are actually way better than any minutes that I can take. So I've been recording the meetings and I'm posting them to the Get Ready channel on YouTube. So there is a Get Ready 94920 YouTube channel, and I'm just posting the meeting minutes, not meeting minutes, the meeting videos. So that's why I'm recording this. And
now, Lori, are you planning on distributing the minutes also, or just recording them?
I'm trying this out now and checking to see. I had just recorded the meetings, and I'm just uploading those for people to.
I guess I would request maybe for the next meeting or 2 that you send them out anyway, or also in written form as we transition, if we decide to just to transcribe stuff.
Okay.
I'm afraid several people are going to miss it if we do. We have minutes from the April 26th meeting?
No, I have just the recording of the meeting.
All right. Well, okay. Well, let's see who we. Kimberly, welcome.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
I just saw you yesterday, as a matter of fact. And Alice, welcome to you.
Thank you, Tom.
Alice has been part of Tiburon government for a long time. So we're very happy.
And you're running again.
All of this.
Yes.
And yeah, Stephanie will be introduced here in just a few minutes. Should we go ahead, Lori? What's your pleasure?
I think we should go ahead and call the meeting to order.
All right, we will call a meeting to order. This is the Belvedere Tiburon Joint Disaster Advisory Council of October 18th, 2022, and it is about 4 minutes after 4. We will not review the minutes because we were just discussing a minute ago, they have not been distributed, and there is a plan perhaps to just to transcribe those rather than distribute those in written form. And I've just asked Lori if she would do both of those for at least the next 2 meetings so we can get used to that. And if we so decide to just go with the transcribed form, we'll have to make sure that everyone knows how to access that.
Okay.
We'll move ahead. I'm sorry, Lori.
Sorry, Tom, it's Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Hi. No, what she's saying is she's going to take this video recording and just post it to the website so that people can sit and watch the whole meeting. And I'm not really comfortable with that, because if somebody makes some little remark, I mean, it really is the equivalent of being on the dais and having like meeting in the town in the chamber offices and then having it recorded in perpetuity. I mean, there are
I'm-
lots of little things that get discussed that,
Lori, I guess my concern would be if we have distributed minutes, they're very easy to read in, a few minutes. If we have to listen to the whole or look at the entire meeting, which this takes an hour, that may be a bit of a problem.
Okay, I completely understand, and I am taking notes on this, and I will get those, and I can go back and write up
Excellent.
notes, last one.
Great, thank you.
Not-
Any other comments on that issue? Okay, we will move on to the open forum. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to discuss anything not on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we will deal with it as we come to that item. Anyone in the audience, Lori, that we're aware of?
We do not have anybody in the audience that I'm aware of.
All right, if anyone joins us, please advise me if you would. We'll go ahead to our presentation, get ready to go, 94920, which is a nice catchy phrase. This was a evacuation drill that was held this Saturday. I have to admit, Lori, despite the bad weather, it was very well attended, and I think it's very, very worthwhile. So would you like to summarize that? And perhaps, Alice, you have some comments?
Thank you, Dr. Cromwell. I actually invited Alice to join us today because I think you all get tired of listening to me talk. And really, this was Alice and I, it was a joint brainchild of ours. And I thought I would let Alice talk a little bit about it, and then maybe I can fill in some gaps from the local government side.
I don't have any notes, but I can tell you that every time I had an idea to add something to the event, Lori had already contacted the people to make it happen. So we ended up getting some funding from the Belvedere Tiburon Foundation and from the town. We had an incredible presence of various community groups, including the Rotary. Lori can tell you who they are when she gets there. And what was also wonderful was it wasn't like a group of people came and sat through the whole thing. They did the rounds of the kiosks, got information. I got feedback from Mark Levine's office that this was one of the very few events where people actually hung out and talked to them instead of just passing by and grabbing pieces of paper. And to me, that was evidence of real community involvement in broad issues. Anyway, I want to thank Lori, and I'll let her give you the details.
Well, thank you, Alice. I want Alice to get more credit. So I'm going to go ahead and give you just a brief rundown of the whole event from beginning to end then, because really it started with Alice. I ran into Alice one day at Costco, and we met in the produce section, and Alice said, I have a great idea for having a community barbecue or some kind of a town picnic, like the old days when we used to fly our kites on McKegney Green. And I said, Alice, I want to do some kind of a walk your neighborhood event where everybody gets to know their different evacuation routes in and out, and then meets and has a big community event. So we should take my get to know your neighborhood and your barbecue / picnic idea and bring it together. And so it was like peanut butter and chocolate. It just worked so well together. So we had, Alice and I do our best work, I think, over a cup of coffee. And so Alice came down for a cup of coffee at the police station. And I think it was Alice's idea to bring in the community, and let's let the community plan the community event. And I think that was the most brilliant part of this whole thing, is that it was really owned, organized, run by the community. So we put something on Nextdoor, we put something out in the ARC newspaper and said, here's a Zoom link, jump in if you want to be part of the planning committee. And people showed up. People with marketing backgrounds showed up. People who were block captains and homeowner associations, they showed up at the meeting with enthusiasm. And it was actually the community members' idea to keep it focused on disaster preparedness and have the booths be focused on preparedness on the peninsula. And so it just kind of became my thing because I'm the disaster preparedness gal. But it was the community's idea. And so from our original meeting, we began having weekly meetings. We broke everybody on the planning team into teams. We had a marketing team that was responsible for the signs, the flyers, the mailers, the emails that went out. Then we had a team of people that took the stuff from the marketing team and pushed it out to their community. They pushed it out to the block captains and the homeowners associations and made sure that these great marketing tools were pushed out to the people. We worked with the school district. I know Kimberly McGrath is here, and she pushed it out to all the parents. And it was just this giant group effort. All the merchants donated raffle prizes, gift certificates. And so we were able to, and again, this was an idea from somebody in the community. They said, let's create a passport and tell people, walk around, visit the booths, and collect signatures as you are at the booths. And then with that signed card, take it back for a raffle ticket and win prizes from the merchants. And the merchants loved that. And we had gift certificates from so many businesses. There was so many different elements that just drew people in and drew people together. The police and fire departments cooked food that was purchased by the city of Belvedere and town of Tiburon. Just a complete and total partnership of cities, towns, the first responders, and the residents and the merchants. It was a completely inclusive, just all community. So it was something that I got to be a part of. It was definitely not my doing. It was our doing, and I'm just proud to have been a part of it. It was brilliant. And as Alice said, we got funding for it. The town of Tiburon and the city of Belvedere gave us a budget. They offered to pay for food together. And then the Belvedere Community Foundation paid for the mailers that went out, over $1,600 for the mailers. The Tiburon Peninsula Foundation paid for the tables and the chairs and the delivery of them. And that was over $1,000. The Rotary Club provided these really awesome lanterns, and I wish I had brought one. They brought lanterns, and they're just really neat. Takes 3 AAA batteries, and they light up a whole room. And we were able to give a lantern to every household that came down and attended. And in some cases, if they had 2 small kids, they got more than one. But the Rotary Club spent over $1,600 on lanterns. So truly funded by everybody, organized by everybody, put together and disassembled by everybody. So the town manager of Tiburon came up to me at the event and said, congratulations, this has turned out really good. I hope you know this is now going to be an annual event. So I'm going to conclude my part of the talking here with, please make sure that you put on your calendar next year to attend. Get ready to go 94920.
Well, good, Lori. And I would have to speak. I was there. I was down at the other end of the field in front of the Belvedere emergency trailer, which we had open for inspection. Belvedere block captains were there. The Marine Medical Reserve Corps was there. We were demonstrating CPR, stop the bleed, and opioid use for narcotic overdoses. We actually distributed about 40 packets of Narcan, which is a big attempt by the county now to get Narcan out to the public. So I think it was extremely successful. And I have to mention, Lori, when we tried this, you and I tried this about 7 or 8 years ago at Del Mar School. It was very poorly attended because there were soccer games going all over the place. So this, I think, was much better planned for Sunday than competition from a lot of those events. I did talk to Greg, and he said, yes, we're going to make this an annual event. We had Jason Wu, from the chief of the Belvedere Police Department. We had Rich Pierce, the chief of the Tiburon Fire Department. It was very, very well attended. And those folks not only walked around, they participated. Greg was carrying boxes of stuff around. So I think it was very successful, and congratulations to you, Lori, and for getting this whole thing up and running. I think you did a great job.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I think one of the reasons it was a success is it wasn't a top-down planning. Sucking the community in and letting them help plan it really did it.
And we had a few people that really shined, and I know they're not here, but I would love to just, Tracy Parasol,
Yes.
Marissa Miller, Julie Callandon,
And Alon, yeah.
Candelon. I don't know where she came from, but she was fantastic. And then Jessica Hodgkiss and Deanne Biss. Jessica Hodgkiss from the ranch
Yes.
became my rock because she's done so many events before and I haven't. So she was great. And I said I was done talking, but I do want to just add on one more thing to what Dr. Cromwell said, and that was the participants. I know the block captains and the MMRC did a great job with first aid and the Narcans, and the Boy Scouts were there doing some good first aid stuff. The PG&E came out, and we have a new PG&E representative who was so happy to be there. He brought a gas meter and a gas meter shutoff wrench and was teaching people hands-on, here's how you turn off your gas. And that was really appreciated, well attended. We had a group of moms for gun safety that were out there giving away gun locks and information on how to keep your home safe when you have a firearm within it. The Marin Humane Society, they were there. And people love the Humane Society, the Red Cross, Southern Marin Fire, Marin CERT, Alert Marin. We had a lot of participation. And I think the highlight for me was Chief Rich Pierce from the fire department was doing the barbecuing. He was out flipping burgers and a big smile on his face, and people loved that. And I was included. The Tiburon Fire they did such an awesome job. They came down there with that barbecue and did the cooking. Southern Marin Fire, Tom Welch brought his wife, and she was just a catering background, and I don't think we could have done it without her. So a lot of thank yous to go into this because it was just a complete community. Now I'll stop. I swear I'll stop.
Good question.
Jamie?
You've mentioned all the, I was out of town, so I wasn't able to make it, but you've mentioned all the people involved in putting it together. How many how many civilians do you think were there in terms of the number of people that either, did the walk and got there and
If I
participated?
had to guess, I would say 200.
I'm sorry, you were broken, Lori. How many?
And I'm on my phone, and so there a call started coming in, so I think I broke up as I was rejecting a call. I would guess about 200 based on the amount of cards that we gave out to people to have signed. It was really supposed to be one per household, and the 100 that we had were gone pretty fast. And so I think we easily had 200 people. A lot of households with multiple kids came down. I think one of I would say 200, but they were coming in and leaving. And so
Yeah.
you didn't see everybody that attended there at the same time, and it was spread out of a large space. And so it never felt like 200. It never felt like 200 people because it was so spread out, but I think there was easily 200 people there.
Well,
And there was a lot of turnover. Some people didn't even eat. They just came through the booths
Mhm.
and then went out the other end. So it was really hard to,
I was impressed with the distribution of ages there. My 6-year-old grandson was there working on CPR. We had several adults, older folks wandering around looking at stuff. So it was very successful. And next year, I think we'll get on board and see if we can start a little earlier and do the same thing all over again.
Yes, I think now that we know the size of it, we will start a little earlier, and we also now have plans, and we kind of know how to roll this out. So it should be a little bit easier next year also. Less fumbling. So anyways, I think that wraps that up. I'd like to move on in the interest of time.
We will go ahead with new business. We have a new member of our council replacing Chris Murphy. Chris was with us for 2 or 3 years, then decided to relocate to Chicago, despite what we tried to tell him otherwise. But we now have a new representative from Tiburon. Her name is Stephanie Hill. Many of you probably saw an issue of the ARC about, gosh, I think it was a month ago now, introducing her. And it says, I will read her Her interest is in exploring the interconnections and interdependencies between various seemingly siloed challenges in an overall system would be a valuable skill for the Disaster Council. I have to admit, I have difficulty reading that, much less interpreting that. So maybe if you could tell us what you were trying to say there, it would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a little bit of my story. I had a chance to meet with Lori last week at the police station and learn a little bit about what the Disaster Advisory Council has been up to historically. And one of the things that she asked me is, why were you interested in being part of the Disaster Advisory Council? So I'll maybe share a little bit about my background, which Dr. Cromwell may begin to answer that question. So just really quickly, I grew up in Montana, very big, very close family, and learned a lot about what it means to be resilient and take care of each other, and really to be prepared for a lot of contingencies, particularly weather there, of course, but learned really to love and respect the power of nature. We had fires and drought, and we sat on a big earthquake fault, and so just a lot of learnings there. My grandfather, just an amazing man, but somebody who really understood and had a pulse on what was happening around him, and taught us all to really kind of be aware of what's happening, and be aware of how, whether it's an environmental issue connects to a political issue, connects to maybe a societal challenge or whatever it might be. He really taught us to think in systems and then over long time horizons. So when I went to school, I found myself I found my way to an engineering degree in what's called systems engineering. And systems engineering, again, was really all about looking at, say, a system, a town, a community is a system, a family is a system, the whole earth is a system. There are lots of levels of systems, and really understanding the different piece parts, the components of those systems, and then how they relate to and impact each other. And there's a lot of mathematics involved in that space as well. But it was a fascinating degree program. And so that led me to a career in consulting. So I went into consulting, and I really was very intentional about turning myself into what I'll call a generalist. So a lot of people will go into consulting, they'll specialize in a particular area. So I very deliberately moved from industry to industry, problem domain to problem domain, technology, business process, strategy, organizational change. So I was very deliberate about really moving myself around. And again, this overarching objective to be able to sort of see the system and the patterns and the relationships and whatnot. I moved to the Bay Area in 2012. I was working for a company called Avanade. It's really a subsidiary of Accenture. Came here for what was supposed to be 3 years. I fell in love with the Bay Area. That was back in 2012. We're still here. We call it home now. Moved to Tiburon in January of 2020. So right before the start of the pandemic, which actually, of course, turned out to be some particularly good timing. One of the things I had to deal with, so I lead our Bay Area market. I now work for a company called Pariveda, and I have accountability for our Bay Area team. And so one of the things that I had to deal with very early on was, how am I going to navigate our team, our office, our client base, all of that through the pandemic response. We were actually watching the situation as it emerged.
Lori, are you still on?
Yeah. No, I'm here. Stephanie, if you can hear us, goes there for a second.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, I'm having a little internet challenge. Where did I lose you, Lori?
You moved here in 2020 to Tiburon.
Yep.
Shortly after that.
All right, cool. So moved here in 2020. Very quickly had to deal with, from a work standpoint, I lead the Bay Area market for our consulting business, and had to work through the the response to the incoming pandemic. So we'd been planning for a variety of disasters for many, many years, including pandemic, which many people were surprised to learn when we were actually ready for it. We started watching it in January and began our response in early January. And ultimately, I worked through the San Francisco Bay Area response and really learned through that how really a couple of things. One, the human element of really helping people to navigate through that kind of response, the community element of how much it takes for people to come together and navigate together, and then the pre-planning part of it, which was really the primary ingredient for our success, which was for years, again, prior and then leading up, we had been scenario planning for a wide range of disasters, including pandemic. And so all of this was just reinforcing for me the importance and the value of having these kinds of conversations. And so when the opportunity arose for me to apply for the role or the position in the Disaster Advisory Council, I felt like it was a really nice kind of coming together of my own personal experiences, some skills I think I bring from a career in education and background, and some very practical experiences that I've had, both personally, which I'm happy to share, went through my own little disaster in Costa Rica, and then professionally leading a team through the pandemic response in early 2020. So I don't know if that helps, Dr. Cromwell, with the what all of that means.
No, very much so. When Chris Murphy came on board a couple of years ago, he introduced us to some new systems that actually I think were quite successful. Unfortunately, decided to leave, as I said, but we welcome some new eyes, new approach to a lot of these things. I think one thing you will find out, if you don't know already, is that disaster preparedness is one of the last things people want to think about. That's why it was really kind of surprising for all of us, I think, to see the turnout for this exercise we just had a couple of days ago. But welcome aboard, and any new ideas you have, anything that you observe that you think we would do better or change, let us know.
Cool.
Welcome to our meetings.
Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard. And what is the name of the firm you're with now?
It's called Pariveda Solutions. P-A-R-I-V as in Victor, E-D-A. It's a very unique organization. Even the name itself is pretty deliberate. That's a Sanskrit word that means seeking complete knowledge, which is an impossible task. It's an infinite game. And so, yeah.
That's great. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And Lori, I might have missed the beginning of when you guys were chatting. The other member we're missing is Jerry Butler.
Jerry is not here.
Right. And then those are the members, right?
Still have a Belvedere vacancy, I believe. So we're still looking in Belvedere.
Right. We still have a Belvedere vacancy.
We were hoping for Adam Gabser, but he has too much on his plate, it sounds like. So we're still seeking. So if anybody knows anyone that's a Belvedere resident that would like to join our group, let them know. It's very minimal time constraints.
Adam is the co-chair of our block captain program, and he is very interested. If he has time, he will sit in on some of these meetings. He is not a formal representative from Belvedere, and we do need to get their city council to get up to speed and appoint somebody.
I would like to introduce Kimberly McGrath because I'm very excited.
Certainly, please do.
I just got the chance to really meet Kimberly recently face to face and was so excited about her disaster preparedness efforts for Reed Union School District. So I've asked her to come and speak. And I think Dr. Cromwell and I both can confirm her enthusiasm spilled over to her staff. Yesterday, we both got to see it firsthand with the trainings that they put on. So I invited Kimberly to come tell us a little bit about what's going on out there at the school. So thank you so much for being here. We're so glad to have you join us, Kimberly.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate being invited. So hi, everyone. Dr. Kimberly McGrath, but feel free to call me Kim. And yes, superintendent at Reed Union. And maybe like Stephanie, I'll just give you my 2-second background is I started in education, I think it was 29 years ago, something like that, and started as an elementary teacher and then was an elementary assistant principal and elementary principal. And then someone had the crazy idea for me to be a high school administrator, and then became a director of technology for a while and of secondary schools, and then transitioned into an assistant superintendent position and then superintendent position. So I have a real passion for education. I feel like I'm one of those lucky ones that get to do what I really love, is, empower people and make a difference for kids. So I'm, lucky that I get to do a job that I really adore and fills my soul. So I'm so happy to be here in Reed. So this is my second year here as superintendent. And, we have 4 priority areas this year. So our first priority is around safety. So of course, disaster preparedness being one component of that. And so, we're taking some real intentional steps this year to make sure that that shows to the staff in the community that it is a priority for us. So safety takes, kind of a broad range of forms, disaster preparedness being one of those components. I'll kind of tell you about the larger safety umbrella that we're focusing on. So we are looking at kind of enhancing some of our drills and disaster preparedness. 2 of the really concrete steps we're taking this year is we have not in the past done a great job of practicing our emergency kind of incident command center. The school districts, the schools themselves do a beautiful job of practicing earthquake, fire, evacuation, shelter in place. But as far as practicing from an internal place of communication, that kind of thing, we really felt like we needed to improve that. So that's a concrete step that we're taking this year, is adding the district component of practicing the command center and even communicating out to staff and to families during those drills. So this year we're going to try 3 common district-wide drills. The first one will be the Great Shakeout here coming up this week, so 10:20 at 10:20. And so we've started to just tell the parents that we're going to practice our external communication. So we're hoping to work out any bugs of, did you get the notification? Did it come in the right format? All those sort of things that happen. That's why you practice. And then we're also going to do a district-wide fire and a district-wide evacuation drill as well later in the year, really with that intention of, let's practice as real and as close to reality as we can, so that we'll cross our fingers we don't need to use it, but if we do, that we have practiced that. So that's a few of the concrete steps we're doing. We're also trying a visitor management. This is a little outside probably your interest, but just for your information, within that larger safety umbrella, we implemented a visitor management system in order people run their driver's license before they come on a school campus, and we just make sure that there's no offenses that are not allowed on a school campus. So another concrete step there. We have an external, what I think of kind of that broader, really wide range of stakeholders safety meeting. So I have invited both Lori and Dr. Cromwell to that really large safety meeting. So I won't be able to list every agency, but you can imagine fire, disaster preparedness, police, et cetera. Frankly, people whose specialty is in safety and disaster preparedness, even more specific than a school district. Our primary focus is to educate children, but of course, feeling safe and being prepared is a huge part of what you have to do first before you can expect kids to learn and thrive, right? So we also have an internal safety committee meeting that meets on an ongoing basis. So we review our internal safety plans, our drills, what's going well, what needs modernization, what needs improvement, et cetera. So I have so appreciated the partnerships. It was very evident just yesterday in a professional development setting. Let's see if I can remember all 5 topics. So we did stop the bleed. We did hands-only CPR. We did AED training. We did Narcan training. And we also did preparing your home and go bags. So did I forget any, Dr. Cromwell, Lori? I think I
that's pretty complete. Yeah.
I covered them. So it was excellent training, hands-on, kind of a combination of great information, videos, hands-on activities so that people can really apply it. Very practical, very real, things that people need. So I really appreciate the partnership and everybody kind of diving in. All the school staff felt really supported, and especially from people where it's a lot more of your expertise coming in and really helping us. So I'm excited about this partnership, and we appreciate just the way this whole area dives in to say, we're willing to support you and understand that schools are just one piece, but an important piece of, a high functioning community. So glad to be a part of it. Thanks for inviting me. And I look forward to, future connections ongoing.
Well, thank you, Kim. Our apologies for, I know you've been here almost a year, and so we're finally getting around to
Yeah, that's fine.
getting you front and center. I met with Kim probably, I don't know, a couple of months ago now, when it was for half an hour or so, and we went over, which was what I tried to do whenever we get a new fire chief or a new mayor or new whatever, and spend about a half an hour going over the things that we have done in disaster preparedness on the peninsula over the past 25 years or so. And the one in particular that concerns Kim and the school system is that the Del Mar School is intended, the gymnasium at Del Mar is intended as our first aid station in the event of a significant disaster. We have not yet developed a memorandum of understanding formally. We do have an MOU with St. Stephen's Church, which would also serve in that capacity. But at some point, I need to get together with Kim and see. I suspect, Kim, this will have to go through your current school board, because we went through the school board when we originated this whole thing several years ago, but it's obviously changed. So if we can discuss this at some point in the future with your school board, and then hopefully get them on board and develop a memorandum of understanding as to how this thing would operate, it would be, I think, beneficial for everybody concerned.
Yeah, happy to have the discussion.
Good, thank you. Any questions for Kim? Okay, well,
Just
thank you.
a quick
And I would say,
comment.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jane.
Just a quick question, comment. And that is, Lori, this is one of the reasons why recording this whole thing and putting it out so the world can watch it, is that sometimes we talk about things we don't want the world to know. Tom, we still have the supplies at Del Mar School, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what do you and Kim are going to refresh?
Well, when we originally developed this plan, this was years ago.
Yeah, no, I remember when you did.
Lori was involved with that. We originally did go to the school board. I think it was Mr. Herzog, who was the then superintendent, was very supportive of this effort. And we chose Del Mar School because it was in the middle of the community. It had helicopter access. It had the ability to keep the students, if this happened during school time, to go back into the classrooms and stay there until they were picked up by their parents or whomever. So we had all those things pretty well worked out. And then utilize the gymnasium as a first aid station. That's where all the equipment is. It's not going to be a MASH unit. We're not going to be doing surgery and things of that sort, but it would be utilized for stabilizing folks, treating fractures, treating bleeding and things, especially if we can't get people off the peninsula immediately, or when the general is tied up. So we considered all those sorts of things and came up with this plan that we think would work fairly well if it ever happens. The fire department has bought into that, but we had one issue with the school board at that time. It was one gentleman, I can't even remember his name, but he was very concerned this was going to be an issue because we were going to be storing controlled substances on school grounds. And no matter what we did to try to assure him that that was not going to happen, he simply would not give up, and it caused some consternation. So I think it would be best if we start all over again and go to the current school board with Kim and discuss how this would be utilized so people have some understanding of what we're trying to do.
And
Right.
I'd jump into that because I think our town attorney would probably want to help draft an MOU. So let's have a conversation in a separate meeting about that.
Sure.
No, that's great. Well,
Okay.
Okay, so the next item is gonna be the Great Shakeout, which, as you know, the schools are going to be taking part in. So this Thursday, 10:20 at 10:20 a.m., these 6 sirens, if all goes well, these 6 sirens on the peninsula will sound at 10:20, signaling the beginning of the Great Shakeout earthquake drill, which is a worldwide earthquake drill. And every year it gets bigger and bigger. We encourage people to participate and also to register at shakeout.org. You can register that you and your household or you and your office or you and your school are participating, and then they can add you to the head count as a participant and once again break another record for the world's largest earthquake drill. So this Thursday, be prepared for the sirens to go off, and please duck, cover, and hold wherever you are. And I just really encourage people to don't just do it as a don't go through the motions. Take a moment, duck, cover, and hold underneath a table or a desk, or get into your doorway, and take a moment to just think about if this had really been a big earthquake and I were stuck in my home for the next 3 days, or if I couldn't get home, what does that look like? Do you have what you need? Do you have what you need for your children? Do you have what you need for your dog? I really want people to take a moment and just reflect on your personal preparedness and then take action. So this should be a triggering thing that triggers some action, because I don't think any of us is as prepared as we could be. There's always something. So that's this Thursday, 10:20 at 10:20. Help spread the word to your neighbors.
Good.
Okay.
Comments about the Great Shakeout. Kimberly, I neglected to say one thing. Thank you for showing up at this meeting. We have had in the past a representative generally from the Reed Union School District who has attended these meetings. If you're available, we would love to have you attend any of these that you're available to do.
And we do have Carlos Estrella is our representative at the moment, Kimberly, just to let you know. He out of office reply, I think he's gone this week. But he is normally our representative.
Great. He's a great one.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on with old business, the Belvedere Block Captain Program. Just mentioned Adam Gavzer's name. Adam and I co-chair our Block Captain Program. We have about 90 people on the peninsula or in Belvedere who are part of the Block Captain Program. Their responsibilities are to go around prior to a disaster, meet with assigned residents. Each one has assigned residents of about 10 or 12 homes. Meet with them, discuss disaster preparedness, find out where their shutoffs are and all of that sort of thing. After a disaster, they should get their vest on, make sure that their community or their home is in decent shape and their family, and then go out and visit each one of their assigned residences to see what's going on, report any fires, injuries, collapsed buildings, anything of that sort to our Belvedere Incident Command, which would then be transferred or transported to the Peninsula Incident Command, which is at Tiburon Police, excuse me. So that's the system we have worked out. And we have training programs. Adam usually will handle our training programs and establish those and work with our radio communication. And I work with the medical aspect of it, which involves a trailer and a group of about 15 medically trained people who will respond, hopefully, if they're available, to the trailer or to Del Mar or St. Stephen's, wherever they're needed. So that's basically the rudiment or the rudimentary parts of this program. Never been tested in real life. We hope it never will be, but we do have significant training and hopefully it will work. Any questions about the Block Captain Program?
So
Okay.
clarifying question, Dr. Cromwell. So I
Sure.
noticed that the Belvedere Block Captain update, does Tiburon have a similar?
Well,
We want me to speak
I'll
to
let Laura answer that.
We have some neighborhoods that are doing quite well. We are much more spread out, and it's just a very different layout in Tiburon. So some of our neighborhoods are very, very active. The Del Mar neighborhood is doing great. Belvedere does great. The Tiburon Hill Estates have been doing, so there's some that have really proactive block captains. They have trainings. They don't have a radio system like Belvedere does. They're very independent and they're check on themselves, and that's as far as it goes. Then we have some neighborhoods that are very hilly and the homes are more gated, and I'm not sure that we're ever going to get neighbors to get out and meet neighbors, and it's frustrating. So in some areas it's awesome and you see them have events, and then in some areas it's not. So it's a lot different. We were out there at the event on Sunday handing out block captain packets, and I did have some people come up that seemed interested and said, let's talk. I get my neighborhood going. So I think events like what we had on Sunday are going to help to educate people that we do have something and help it grow. It's just going to take some people like Adam Gavser and Dr. Cromwell to take it on and take charge and organize them. So.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, and Paradise
Stephanie,
K is,
I think. Yes, Stephanie, I think one of the things that, and I'd be happy to talk to you about this offsite, but give us a chance to get together and grab a sandwich or something. But, I think it'd be good, Lori, to do an assessment of what is going on in Tiburon and what's not going on in Tiburon, and try to see if we can have some, coordination among the neighborhoods. I'm over here on Paradise K, and while we're not in Tiburon or Belvedere, we're in the county, and we're part of the Tiburon Fire District. Yep. And as happened earlier this week, if the license plate reader goes off, and then we end up with police cars from the county and Tiburon, and they arrest the guy and throw him in jail with $1 million bail. So that was a good catch. But I think it'd be good to coordinate that, and so maybe you and I can talk about that. Lori, can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting in January? Just it'll give us a bookend and force us to do something.
Sounds good.
and do I get lunch with you too, Jamie?
Lori, you and I used to have lunch all the time.
Yeah, let's go meet at Ming, talk Tiburon block captains with Stephanie.
There you go.
Ming's. Okay, Ming's. I'll
All
take
right.
you to lunch at Ming's.
And the
Perfect.
As has been
block
brought
captain
up,
task force started.
Perfect.
as we have just discussed, Stephanie, yeah, they are different communities. Belvedere is much smaller.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to get something like this going as opposed to Tiburon, which is much larger, somewhat disparate. It is organized around neighborhood groups, some of which, as Lori said, are very effective, some are not. I have been asked to come over to a couple of those over the past few years and discuss with them, which I have done, how we've got it going in Belvedere. What it boils down to, those they want me to come over and set it up for them. And that is more than we can handle. What it does need, what you need, I think, in these areas is we need one or two really dedicated people in each neighborhood group. And I mean, dedicated doesn't mean hang around for, 6 months or a year and then pass it on to somebody else. It means they really have a definite interest in doing this. And we could easily develop this and
it also varies. Sorry, Tom.
No, we do have, a plan that has worked here, and we certainly would be willing to share all of that with anybody in Tiburon that is interested.
And the Belvedere program has ebbed and flowed. I mean, if it weren't for you and others pouring a lot of energy and thought into it, Tom, it wouldn't be where it is. So
well, it's back to what we were talking about, that people don't want to think about disasters. And that's the main problem.
Things also change over time, Stephanie, like like 15, 20 years ago. One of the things that I worked on with Lori was we worked on a whole flotilla of boats.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. And we had this whole boat thing so that we could go up to Petaluma and pick up people and, pick up firemen and policemen. go collect people in the city and all this sort of stuff. And then as it turned out, the all the government agencies decided, they all found these federal grants to buy boats, so they all bought boats. Now all of a sudden, Tiburon Fire and the sheriff and everybody owns all these boats, and so they basically said, we don't need boats anymore. We can take care of ourselves.
So in
Yeah.
our, though, Jamie, in our
What?
EOC, we got a marine radio
Oh,
because
no, we bought that. We went to
We-
Sausalito.
yeah, so that's part of our emergency operations center. And we
Oh,
do have,
yeah.
if we need boats, we can call on boat volunteers and ask them to meet at a yacht club. Or
Yeah.
Ed Lynch, who worked at the fire department many, many years ago, he basically said, you're never going to keep an up-to-date list on boat owners and boat volunteers. And it was the most profound thing, that don't even try. Don't try, just get a radio and call on volunteers. And in the moment, they're going to come forward and want to volunteer. So we have a radio, and I'm ready to jump on there. And
Yeah, we
call-
even have if you look at the Tiburon Police Department on the right-hand side, towards the back, there's a great big mast that goes up. And we've tested it with the Tiburon fireboat to make sure that
Huh.
that it works out on the water. But yeah, it's good fun. I mean,
Well, I would have to interject there. I have known Eddie for 30 years now. We're very good friends. This is one area that I disagree with him immensely. I think for us to say, oh, well, let's just forget it and hope things will fall together if we have a major disaster is not the way to go. Now we have, as you know, Jamie and Lori, we have discussed this at the council many times. Every time we discuss it, we get into a whole issue, a whole plethora of issues that need to be resolved. Whose boats are you going to use? Where's the captain? Who has the insurance? Who's going to take the responsibility? If you're trying to evacuate injured people, who's going to take care of them when you evacuate them on the boat? Where are they going to go with them? All of those things need to be considered, but for us to sit back and say, oh, well, it'll all fall together, I don't think it's the way to go. And I think we need to continually work on the issues. We have 2-3 big yacht clubs that could be very effective if we have a little bit of planning.
yeah.
Oh,
All right.
something about at a future date. We only have about 7 minutes left, and I want to make sure we get to the last item on the
Yeah,
agenda.
that's where we're going. And this is another issue that we have discussed ad nauseum over the
Wait, but
past.
I have the news. News.
And the reason that this became such controversial issue is there was disagreement between the two fire departments that participate in protecting the Belvedere Tiburon Peninsula, which is Tiburon Fire and Southern Rim Fire in the northern part. There was some disagreement on the part of the two chiefs. They're both very effective chiefs, very good chiefs, but some disagreement on putting evacuation decals on the streets. So Lori, go ahead. Where are we with this?
So where we are with this, first off, the fire are definitely on the same page with each other. The fire chiefs and Mike Lantier, myself, the police chief, we all sat down and met after an article came out in the ARC about how Chief Tubbs was, he didn't think it was a smart idea at the time based on the information he had. And unfortunately, I didn't get him the best information, the most up-to-date information. And so it was just a lack of communication. And so we weren't on the same page, and the ARC put out an article. Afterwards, we all met, the fire chiefs met, we all got on the same page. Chief Tubbs is now the fire chief for all of Southern Marin Fire, including Mill Valley, that started the evacuation decals. He very much supports the decals. And this week, the decals were put down in his jurisdiction. Unfortunately, the last couple times that the ARC newspaper has put out articles, they have recycled old quotes from Chief Tubbs, making it look like he is not supportive. And unfortunately, they are using old quotes, which were accurate maybe at the time, but aren't so much now. So that is not true. Chief Tubbs is very supportive, on the same page with Chief Pierce and with Mike Lantier. Tom Welch over there in Southern Marin Fire has been really instrumental in helping to to get these put down and get everybody on the same page. So thanks to a lot of great teamwork with Public Works, Fire Department, they have actually started installing them this week. They have them down out in the farther end of town in Southern Marin Fire's jurisdiction, and the rest of Tiburon is following, and then Belvedere will follow next. Fire Department, I want to applaud them. They've gone back in and revised maps and made better maps with better locations of where the decals go so that there's no confusion with Public Works. And they've even gone ahead and taken it to the next level, and they've gone out and spray painted markings on the roadway so Public Works knows exactly where to put them down, the best places. So it's a process that is actually going down fast now, and I believe that we're going to see it completed in the very near future, but it has begun. They are on the ground.
Do they have any estimate of how long it will take them, Lauren, to put those things down?
No, there's been, I think that weather permitting, as long as the weather stays good, it should go pretty quick. They did all of the Southern Marin jurisdiction fire jurisdiction pretty fast. I mean, they did it in a day, I think, if not 2 days. It was pretty fast. So Tiburon Public Works is dedicating a couple of people. The fire department, I believe they're going to finish getting markers down this week. So soon, it's happening. And this is the most optimistic I've been in 4 years. So it's happening. It's nothing but good news to report as far as I can tell.
Good.
Yes.
Let me just make one comment, if I may, on another issue that is going to be on the November ballot. This does not affect any of you directly, but it affects the residents of Belvedere, and that is called Measure D. This is on the ballot because we have two causeways, Centerfell Avenue and Beach Road. Without both of them, Belvedere Island is totally isolated. So that is a substantial concern that we have. The causeways are 80 years old. They've already sunk somewhere in the range of 4 feet. And so Measure D would provide funding to strengthen those two causeways. For various personal reasons, there is a very small but very vocal anti-D group that you'll hear lots about. You'll see lots of their ads in the ARC newspaper. Most of the information they're spreading is inaccurate, but it's caused a substantial problem. So if you see anything in the ARC about Measure D for or against, that's what it's all about. And we'll just see what happens in November.
Can we save a couple minutes to talk about tsunami signs?
Sure.
You guys have all read that the California Department of Geology has redone the tsunami maps for California. The inundations from those, right, as I remember, they look about the same. But Lori, where are we on the tsunami signs?
They got tabled because of some concerns many years ago, and I want to, after the strategic plan out that
we covered that.
We covered that. Let me get the decals down, Jamie, and then that'll be my next fight. How's that?
It'll be what? Oh yeah, it's not a fight though. We covered it. We covered it within the last year or so.
Yes.
And we concluded that the real estate agents objected because they didn't think that people would want to drive in and see tsunami signs. And then those real estate agents are largely gone. And we're now in a situation where it doesn't have to be your fight. They are, they're important. And I know that the ones for Paradise K I have to get from the county, but to be able to tell people, and I'll just stick to Paradise K, how, so that they get used to the idea that in case of a tsunami warning, you have to get to a particular location to be above where the water's expected to rise. And, the Ross Stein, Tom, who you and I have been wanting to get together with, who was the earthquake specialist at USGS. He was on the Channel 5 News last night, and he covered the whole Loma Prieta and the Hayward Fault. He went through his whole discussion, They had him on for almost 15 minutes. And